Mm-hmm. Interesting. Alright, it looks like I can't trust Restream to set titles anymore across Vimeo and the two Twitch and the two YouTube channels, so I have to set them manually. That's kind of lame. I miss the days when Twitch just Restream just allowed me to set titles, but it doesn't. That's kind of disappointing. Lewis, guess what? What? I'm going to be honest. I didn't mean to tap on the notification, but I'll stay. Well then. Good evening. Hello! No, not board repair, I'm afraid. Not board repair. Just two cats. This is one kitty, Clinton, and two kitties, Blackberry. Indeed. Kitten. Okay, so what should we discuss? What is there to talk about today? So, there's a few pieces of interesting things. I've been trying to... one of the things that I notice about the world is that it's a lot easier to be happy and positive and excited and really just revved up to make the most of life when I don't actually read the news. Do the cats know how to repair MacBooks? Clinton does. BlackBerry's learning. Oreo's not smart enough. But we're working on it. And there's a few pieces of news here that were interesting. So the first one that is interesting was just reading over this. Not reading it. I was just listening to my favorite King Governor for a little bit. This piece over here. It was quite interesting to me. Let's see, where is this? Let's see if I can load it. I burnt my hand, then I grabbed a soldering iron. Well, you shouldn't be grabbing your soldering iron while it's on. That hurts Clinton. Yeah, let's see.
What if the economy failing
worse than death
equals death because of mental illness? The people stuck at home.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't equal death. Economic hardship, yes, very bad, not death. Emotional stress from being locked in a house, very bad, not death. Domestic violence on the increase, very bad, not death. And not death of someone else. See, that's what we have to factor into this equation. Yeah, it's your life, do whatever you want. But you're not responsible for my life. You have a responsibility to me. It's not just about you. You have a responsibility to me, right? We started here saying it's not about me, it's about we. Get your head around the we concept. So it's not all about you. It's about me too. It's about we. Also, I get the economic hardship. Everybody gets it. Everybody feels it. Federal government is sending out a check for individuals, $600, an additional $1,200. We are moving heaven and earth to get the unemployment payments going. So we get the economic anxiety. The question is, how do you respond to it? And do you respond to it in a way that jeopardizes public health and possibly causes more people to die? And think about it as if it was your family that might get infected, right? And that's what we're talking about. And when you think about it as your family, you have a different perspective. I'll tell you the truth. It's not an abstract argument where they say, he says, she says, he says, she says. I know that's how it works. Well, protesters say this, governor says this, protesters say this, governor says this. Okay, think about it as your family might be in the mix. Because when I see 484 New Yorkers die, I feel that it's like people in my family. And nothing comes before the public health risk of somebody else's life. And that's where we are.
But they're also saying, if you can't afford to pay me unemployment, or your system
You
is
will
not
be
set up,
paid. You will be paid
but
unemployment
they can't
from the
wait
day.
for they can't wait for the money. They're out of money.
Yeah, we're talking about a couple of days lag on the unemployment insurance, and they will get the check from the date of unemployment. Does not cost them an extra penny. Now, they can say, unemployment insurance isn't enough. I get it. Even with the $600 check and the $1,200 check and the unemployment insurance benefit is not enough. I understand the economic hardship. We all feel it. The question is, what do you do about it? And do you put public health at risk? And do you drive up the number of deaths for it? Because you have no idea how to reopen now.
They're saying that, is there a fundamental right to work if the government can't get me the money when I need it? Is there
Yeah,
a
you want to
fundamental
go, by the way,
right
you want to go to work? Go take a job as an essential worker. Do it tomorrow. Right? You're working.
I am.
You're an essential worker. So go take a job as an essential worker.
But the people aren't hiring because of the
No, there are people
pandemic.
hiring. You can get a job as an essential worker. So now you can go to work and you can be an essential worker and you're not going to kill anyone.
This is one of the reasons that when I had a chance, that I remember I voted for Larry Sharp. You know, one of the things that I've found over the years is that people find it incredibly, incredibly offensive when people that lean on the conservative side of the spectrum will look at people that are worried about economic hardship and say, just get a job. Just get a fucking job. You lazy bum. Get a fucking job. Get off your ass and get a job. And there are people, and there's an argument to be had there as to whether or not that's an appropriate thing to say. There are people that may not be able to. They may have some sort of medical issue. They may not be qualified for the jobs that are out there. Their town may just be in a black hole of nothing but Walmart and gas stations that are all filled up, and there's no real opportunity. And there are people that will take great offense, even if you just say, just go out there, go on Craigslist, go to Good Temps, and try to find a job, even a shit job. And I've been there. You know, I've been at the point where I was putting price tags on basketballs. I've been at the point where I was pretty much like I couldn't find a job, so I said, okay, fine, I'll find an internship. I will go to an internship. And I will work for free for 3 months to try and earn the right to make $7.50 an hour to clean toilets for $7 an hour. And I understand that. I've been in the shit jobs and I've done what I had to do. But it's really interesting to hear someone on the opposite side of the political aisle, from the people that usually say, if you're broke, just get a job and quit your fucking complaining, when they say, go get an essential job. Because see, this is not just, no, get a job. No, stop being lazy. Stop complaining about the fact that you have economic hardship. Just get a fucking job. This is get an essential job. This is, why don't you just go out there and become a nurse? Why don't you just go out there and become a plumber? Why don't you just go out there and get a job as a lab data recovery technician for a firm that does data recovery for the fucking district attorney's office? Because if you just lost your job in a non-essential field and you're kind of curious as to what's going to happen if the government is not able to get you any sort of benefits, it's easy for you because you're going to be able to, thank you, James, because you're just going to be able to go out there and get an essential job. Because if you have no experience of this, if you're a bricklayer, you should be able to walk into my store, put your resume down on the table, and be able to get $40 or $50 an hour to be able to do lab data recovery for the district attorney. Because it's so easy to transition from what's considered non-essential to essential. And I think that this is the kind of speak And I get it. He was getting questioned by a hardball reporter, and he said some shit that he was not supposed to fucking say. He said the part that you're not supposed to say out loud. He was getting pissed off at a reporter. And admittedly, this is why I would make a shit politician, because I probably would say way worse shit, and I would get in way worse trouble, and I would deserve to get in that trouble. But like, he said the stuff that you're just not supposed to say, though. Oh, yeah, why don't you just get an essential job then? You can get an essential job. You can get an essential job. I've taught people. I have had students where I've worked with them for a week. Sometimes I'll just give them free tutoring after, because they really can't figure it out. They can't get it. I've had people that come to my channel and comment on these videos for a year or two, and they just can't get how to do it. Oh yeah, just get a fucking essential job. It's that easy. I mean, granted, and this also is a sliding scale of what is essential. Like, my business was declared essential. Obviously, it's less essential than a hospital or something like that. But, you could really hear in the voice, hey, you're worried about your economic well-being, just get a job. And, there was this one picture that thank you very much, Allison. I appreciate that. I had this one interesting picture that I got sent. Remember, Anna sent this to me, actually. Let me find it here. One moment. Sorry. I really should be prepared with my thoughts, but I just kind of logged in and started ranting. I saw this thing, and this was particularly interesting to me. I work IT for a major shipping company. A lot of us just got furloughed for the next 90 days. Ouch. I'm sorry. Thank you, Evan. Yeah, this is one of the things that I saw. Like, this is, in my opinion, like, going kind of far there. It says, this is one of those signs where it says, end the lockdown rally, no mask needed, bring your children, non-essential workers. If you're sick, still come, it's your right. This sounds like, I'm trying to think of a synonym for the R word, because you're not allowed to use the R word anymore, but I can't right now, and I don't want to, just put my foot in my mouth just like Cuomo did. But it's pretty dumb. It's pretty stupid. And it's really interesting that there's so many of these fucking ridiculous ass extremes in like one direction or the other. Like, I think this has to be a joke. A bunch of people are saying it's a joke. There is a lot, like, it's really interesting, because there are people that have been saying that the people that want to reopen early are astroturfing, that that's not a real protest. It's a protest being paid for by people who financially benefit from the economy opening early, regardless of health concerns. I think this is actually the opposite. I think stuff like this is actually the opposite. I think this is people who want to keep the economy closed strawmanning the position of people who want to open the economy by making them look so fucking stupid that everybody thinks that is just, no, that's not even a legitimate position. That's absolutely ridiculous, because this position, like this over here, is so fucking dumb. This is so dumb. No mask needed. I mean, like, I was able to buy, and this is getting ripped off by New York standards because of scarcity. Like, I was able to get, there's a off-the-books mask man across the street with his gate half closed. 50 masks for $30. Not like, the little cheap piece of shit blue thing I wear. I'm probably getting ripped off, but, it's not like I can go to Amazon Prime and buy it right now. And you could spray it with alcohol or something, reuse it. Even if you can't get that, you can, put a fucking shirt around your face or something. It really, really doesn't take a lot of work it doesn't take a lot of work to change things a little bit so that you minimize your chances of getting people sick. It doesn't take a lot. It really doesn't take a lot to stand a few feet away from someone. It really doesn't take a lot to go, you know what, I'm not able to get tested for the virus. I'm coughing. I have a fever. You know what, I'm not going to rally around a bunch of kids and workers. I just think that's a bad idea. And it's just very interesting to me how people continue to become more and more polarized to each extreme. Like, on one end, you have people in my comment section that are absolutely cheering on the concept of reporting everyone and, snitching on everyone. And then on the other side of it, you have people that are saying, I'd like to go out. I'm not going to socially distance. I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm going to be in close quarters with a bunch of people that are that may very well be sick, because they encourage people who are sick to go outside. And you can see how they kind of play off each other. Like, this side is getting ridiculous because they're getting ridiculous. But because they got ridiculous, they get more ridiculous. Because they get more ridiculous, they get more ridiculous. And it seems really interesting how this manifests itself everywhere nowadays. It's not really something that only manifests itself with regards to the pandemic situation. This is something that manifests itself in politics, everywhere in politics as well. Everything has gotten to this point where it's seemingly completely incapable of having a nuanced opinion or going back and forth and really like weighing the pluses and minuses and understanding that the other side has a couple of points on something anymore. It really does seem to be a pick your camp and fucking die in it. And it's just, it's awful. And like, there's one set of comments that were really funny that just kind of pointed this out to me. Like, you could really see where the partisanship goes on each side. Let's see if I can find this. Let's see if Google will load it. Now, this is interesting. This is the second time this happened. I wanted to bring up a bunch of comments that were very clearly obvious trolls in one direction, and they all got deleted. I imagine the guy's account got deleted, or he chose to delete all of his posts, one or the other. Kind of strange there. I am going to read all those later. I find that trying to keep up with and read all these things as they come in on the screen makes it impossible to actually get my thoughts across. So it also caused me to interrupt Anna a lot in the last podcast, and I feel really shitty about it. So I'm trying to change my habit to reading this stuff closer to the end, unless it specifically says AMA. So it's kind of a very interesting partisanship on each side. Like, because one of the things that I've been saying is that I'm more than happy to wear a mask. Again, it doesn't really cost me much to buy it. It doesn't cost me anything to provide it to my staff. I mean, as long as I do actually have them and I am able to purchase them, if someone walks in who is a customer and they don't have one, like, I'll just say, here, have a few, wear these. I have 6 feet between the door and a table. There's about another 6 feet between that door and between that table and another table, and another 6 feet, actually no, closer to 9 feet between that and my desk. So, and there's a very specific protocol people have to go through before I actually deal with them. You know, everything from the door handle to the seat and everything and all that crap is alcoholed off constantly. And at the same time, I've said that I think that getting everyone to okay, that's funny. Is that getting, what was I saying? See, this is the problem with reading stuff, is I forget what I was saying. I put all this work in, but I'll still say that I think that openly encouraging people in a city where there's a majority of the people that I meet are cunts, is going to bring out the worst in society if you're going to encourage them all to rat each other out. And like, it's very interesting what happens, because from people who say this is over, I get both in my comments. Like, I will get called a Nazi Trump supporter and a libtard socialist literally in the same video comments. It's hysterical. Just reading through this stuff. If you don't make yourself obviously on one team, it's very interesting how it goes. But it's really interesting because people who think that we should have an eye towards the economy will say everything that I'm doing is fucking ridiculous. You don't need to do all this crap. This is ridiculous. And then there's people who have an eye towards people's health and not spreading the virus. And they're saying, like, well, why would you even consider staying open at all? Just because it says technology support, just because you submitted the form to the city, Lewis, saying how you changed how you do business and clarifying that you are actually technology support, just because you do data recovery for the fucking district attorney's office, doesn't mean you're actually essential. Just because we told millions of people to work from home on their computers that often break because people fucking buy Apple for whatever the fuck reason. Hey, don't blame me. I've been trying to get people to not buy Apple for over 7 fucking years now. If they're still buying them and they're breaking right now, that ain't on me. But, if we're telling everybody to read this stuff and get that shit away. But if we're telling people to work from home, maybe they're going to need to be able to have a fucking computer. Right to repair forever. Thank you. And what I find interesting is that the people who are really interested in health are saying, I can't believe that you're still open. It's a fucking travesty that you're still open. I can't believe. Wait, when you left the store, did you leave with someone 5 feet behind you instead of 6 feet? I'm reporting. It's really interesting. What I find interesting is that I don't seem to have a political home anymore. And honestly, with almost every single hot button issue nowadays, I don't feel like I have any sort of home. It's like, there several things can be true at the same time. And the more I read about this and the more I see it, the reason people seem to be getting more extreme about wanting to open up and wanting to do things is it tends to happen when the governor says, let's worry about the economy later, and then kind of mockingly says, why don't you get a fucking essential job? If you want to work, why don't you get an essential job? Oh, sucks for you that you chose a career doing this. Where I lay on it is, where I've been on this is as follows. I think that it is really important that I do everything in my power to try and stop spreading the virus. So at work, people think that I'm being kind of ridiculous, that if someone is not wearing a mask, I walk up to them, put the mask back on. No, because don't keep doing your work until you put the mask back on. If a customer walks in without a mask, put a mask on. After everything's getting constantly cleaned all the time. I have this industrial air filter on all the time. Every machine is getting cleaned when it shows up. When we put it in the slot, when someone gets it to the table, when we give it back to the customer, the desks are constantly being cleaned, everything. And I'm more than happy to do that. I'm more than happy to not go out and socialize. I'm not a big fan of going out and socializing anyway. I'm more than happy to be a bit of a dick if someone gets too close to me and say, listen, you can talk to me from over there. Keep your mask on and yell instead of doing this and just hoping that I find it socially acceptable that you do that in front of me. Where I draw the line for myself is when the government starts suggesting that we all rat on each other. Because if the government says, listen, we need to shut things down for a while, we need to enforce this social thing, we need to enforce that you're not allowed to walk around with people anymore, we need to kind of take the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and just kind of say fuck it for a few minutes so that massive amount of people don't die. Fine. You can go along with these orders that may or may not be constitutional, may or may not be supported by the Bill of Rights, because I want to help out. I get it. The moment that you start trying to encourage everybody to take photos of each other and report them, that's where I draw the line and say fuck you. That's where, when I read that your tip line got overrun with dick pics, I'm smiling rather than saying, damn, that sucks. But I also see where the other side is, where they're thinking, I'm immunocompromised. I'm sick. If I get this, there's a good chance that I die. And then they look out their window, and there's some people that are walking and like, geez, why are they walking? They're not essential. They're probably not essential, but fine, whatever. And then they look at their binoculars and they look in the park, and they see there's 12 people playing basketball, and they're sweating on each other, and they're breathing on each other, and it's like, man, I could die from this. Can't you save your basketball game for a week? Fuck that. I'm taking pictures of all of you, and I'm ratting you out. They probably think to themselves, you know what? You're doing something that's awful, and that's going to continue to... That's going to further my extremism. That's going to and I really did want to bring up this list of authoritarian comments. There was this one gentleman that went through and literally called every single person a fucking piece of shit, scumbag, inbred, blah, 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 if they had even the slightest thing to say. Not the trolls saying like, Lewis, why would you clean things with alcohol? You didn't do that for the flu. As if there's absolutely no differences in how the flu spreads and coronavirus spreads to people, or the death rate, the amount of people dying per month, per week, per year with it. It was just normal people that had normal opinions. And I wanted to show that comment thread because it really did kind of bring that to light. And a lot of those seem to be getting deleted. I'm not sure if they are trolls. And honestly, it kind of makes me wonder if they are. Because I don't meet these people in real life. I don't meet people in real life that say, like, I'm going to go near people and screw with them, and I'm going to not care. I don't care what happens to anybody else. And I don't meet people that are like advertising that I take pictures and report people to the Blasio. I haven't met either of these groups of people in real life. So it's hard to tell. I'm going to read some of the stuff that came through before I read through the next article that I was taking a look at. I came across a computer shot with a gun. Do you want it as an office decoration? You know what? I'm not sure what I'd do with it, to be honest with you. You can keep that. But thank you. Speaking of Apple, are you going to make good on your threat to consider buying an SE second gen? I can't bring myself to it. I can't do it, Ryan. 12 Ken said €2. Huh. Did you report Copaz? It's tempting. Can you find the video of the mom getting arrested for taking her kids to the playground? You know what? I could, but I think that it would make me angry. And if I watch it, it's going to make me angry and aggravated. And I don't need to be more aggravated at 11:30 at night. There's something else. The other thing that was interesting about what Cuomo said is he said nothing is going to be worse than death. But one of the things that he's missing out with what he said is he's assuming there's 100% certainty. Well, losing your job isn't worse than death. Losing your house is not worse than death. Losing your career or livelihood is not worse than death. Domestic disputes that end violently is not worse than death. But what he's missing there is the percentage. What he's missing there is the percentage. How many of the people that get the virus are going to have that happen to them versus how many people who are economically negatively affected are going to have their life ruined. And that, something absolutely god-awful happen, like something that's this awful happening to 0.1% of people is different than something that is this awful happening to like 20% of people. And, these are the kind of calculations that we always make. And those are the types of and it's interesting because when I do these videos regarding my like e-bikes and e-bikes being illegal, there are always people who said, this is fucking dangerous. Those things are dangerous. They're dangerous. I mean, the only time that I've really gotten in trouble on it was when I went over an oil slick it was a pile of oil that was on a rainy day that must have been dripping from some car that was right next to, it was on a flat piece of metal that you can't even fucking legally use anymore. You can only use the ones that have traction on them. You can't use the ones that have that are just totally flat. And that wasn't like a traffic thing where I hit somebody or someone hit me. That was me not even using the motor or pedaling, gliding. I mean, people always bring up the danger, and then you look at all the other things that are dangerous. And we typically don't make decisions like that. And it's a kind of manipulative thing to do to say that we don't take this type of risk into it. Because people say, oh yeah, with bikes, that's different. That's a new danger. With cars, yeah, we're used to that. We're used to that danger with cars. It's like, what are you talking about? Look at how many people are dying regularly. Pedestrians being hit by cars in New York City regularly. People get sent to the hospital regularly from cars. And you're not willing to have people be on a bike. Electric bike may be dangerous. If I had to choose what I was going to get hit by, I prefer to get hit by a 30-pound electric bike than a 3,000-pound car. But, hey, I got hit with an e-bike. I got hit with an e-bike in 2016 from some dude going through a red light, and it tore my quadricep. Anel got hit by a truck, and I saw the damage that happened when the truck hit Anel versus the bike hitting me. There are different levels of danger and all that. Anyway. Let me just go and read through the comments here since I have 3 different comments lists to read through, actually. Fuck. Oh, my. All right, let's get to work. Let's get to work. And then after this, we go to the next article. Get a job that requires 4 years of education and certification. It's not that hard. You're fighting a good fight. Thanks for everything you do, says Evan. Respect. I also watch Whitmer and her BS. Examples are highlighted to make people who are starving look bad. What stuck out with Cuomo is he said domestic violence is not death. People are frustrated with the models that sucked. Domestic violence is not death. It's one of those things that you gotta, depends on how far it goes. That's not something that I would say out loud. But again, I'm not Cuomo. Right to repair forever, says Vang. Thank you. Before we open or close anything else, I'd much rather we go through the essential list and really think about those things. I personally make braces at a time when orthodontics offices are closed. Breast implants companies are also open. You know what? essential is as essential does. Like, what is essential? I had this argument with Jessa the other day because she really likes playing devil's advocate on things. And I have a lot of fun with Jessa when she plays devil's advocate on things. And one of the things that she said is, tell me something that's not essential. Everything that I went through that was not essential, she figured out a way to show me how it was essential. Hey, Ryan, I paid $30 for them, so don't feel bad locally. Because when you think about it, like, what is essential? Like, you get into, I remember people getting into this argument when they saw how much money that got spent on Viagra in the military, and the concept of whether or not Viagra should be covered under, let's say, a Medicare for All plan if Medicare for All was implemented. Well, no, it shouldn't, because it's not. You don't need to get your rocks off, but they do give it to the military. If they, if someone is in the military and they have problems with it, we spend a lot of money there, and there's a genuine argument on that. Does it contribute to depression? Does that depression then contribute to suicide? When I think of essential medication, what I think of is, something that's going to keep my heart beating, something that's going to keep me from dying immediately. What I don't think about are things that are going to affect my quality of life, which affect my self-esteem, which then affect whether or not I want to continue living my life, which goes on and so on and so forth. Like, what is essential? I don't think Apple products are essential. A lot of people disagree with me. A lot of people show up saying, this is the one thing I need to be able to work from. If I can't, I lose my job. My landlord still wants all of their money, which, seems to be a common thread among fucking New York City landlords. Doesn't matter if it's a flood, hurricane, pandemic, act of God. Rent is due on the 5th. Fuck you. But they need it. Liquor stores are considered essential. I thought that was bullshit. But apparently, speaking to people, if the liquor stores are not open, the people who are drunks are going to rob it, apparently. But B, apparently, the hospitals are completely full. They cannot take on additional sick people right now, at the very least in the beginning of the pandemic. And if you get people to what's the word I'm looking for here? To detox immediately, if you take someone who's an actual alcoholic, a functioning alcoholic, and you just cut them off cold turkey, they may actually have to go to the hospital. And then you're taking away seats from COVID patients. So by keeping the liquor stores open, you're keeping the alcoholics out of hospitals. Now, I find that to be totally fucking ridiculous. I can follow the logic that the alcoholics, if they don't get their alcohol, will go to the hospital. If they go to the hospital, they will take space that could be used on a COVID patient. If they take space that could be used on a COVID patient, the COVID patient could die. Most liquor stores in New York City only have one person working there anyway, so it's not like you really have to worry about social distancing as much as you do in a store where there's going to be, 100 people walking next to one another. I can follow the logic. But my gut reaction is that's fucking ridiculous. A liquor store is not essential. All right. What else do we got? Okay, that was 3. What do we have here? Only 30 messages a minute. Usually there's 80 or 90. So this is slightly easier to read. All right. Start from the beginning here. I burnt my hand grabbing a soldering iron. Don't burn your hand on a soldering iron. We expect more from you. Your inspiration never stopped. I don't think I'm that inspiring, but thank you, Sergeant Salty. I guess I inspire salt. My dad constantly reads the news and manages to bring the entire house's mood down every time he does it, says Adam. Yeah, like I could honestly be having a good day, and the two things that I can read that fuck up my day are the news and YouTube comments. Or even worse, comments on the news, because that's the ultimate in just sadness. Should I cough at Cuomo? No. James says, I spread your message regarding right to repair. It's hard to disagree with common sense. Thank you. Allison says, kitties are essential. I love your streams. Our pet store is essential. Just think about it. I mean, New York City has a lot of mice, a lot of rats, and a lot of pigeons. If push comes to shove, do I need a pet store to be open, or can I just tell little Blackberry, go outside, learn how to hunt? Learn how to be essential. If Cuomo can tell bricklayers they have to become nurses, then I can tell my cat that she has to start hunting for her food. What? It's an instinct. That's more than I could say with Cuomo, because Cuomo will say, "What? Oh, you can get a job. You can just go out there and be essential. You can go out there and be essential. Get yourself an essential job." I mean, if he can fucking say that to people who don't have the means to, on a dime, just fucking change careers into something else, why can't I tell my kitty that you don't get wellness anymore? You don't get Royal Canin anymore. You don't get Hill Science Diet. What you get, little Barry, is a pigeon. And you have to chase it. I work IT for a major shipping company. A lot of us got furloughed for the next 90 days. That sucks. What do you think of people protesting for reopen? I think that if you're going to protest for reopening, that you need to show that we're responsible, right? And they're doing the wrong. I think they're going about it the wrong way. So when I read this, here's what I would do. If I want to reopen, what I need to do is I need to make the case that we are responsible enough as a society that we will be able to keep social distancing. We are going to wash our hands, wash our face, wash our penis, everything that needs to be washed so that we don't spread the virus, that we're going to keep distance from each other, that we have the ability to act like adults. We don't need to be locked in our rooms like fucking children. If you're going to be protesting for a reopening, you need to show and you need to make the case that it's worth it. The same way with repair. What I do, I mean, I would probably, I would do that if there was no coronavirus, honestly. Like, if you cough on me, I'm probably not calling the police on you. If you do it on purpose, honestly, I wouldn't contact the local police, because if you contact the local police, they're going to arrest you when you start beating the shit out of them, which is honestly probably the thing that most people would do. No coronavirus. You rewind to April of 2018. Someone purposely coughs on you because they think it's funny. Tell me you're not knocking them in the face. Anyway, what you need to be doing is you need to be making the case. Cuomo said learn to code. Yes. You need to be making the case that you're responsible. Same thing with repair people. I make the case for right to repair. So what do? I don't rip off my customers. I try to show that repair people will do a good job. We're not going to reflow dead GPUs and give you a 30-day warranty like a company that's name rhymes with fuck you that's located on 10th Avenue and 50th Street does. We're not going to offer you shit service. We're not going to do work that's not going to last. And we want to be, I know that if I'm going to go to legislatures and say that we should be able to do this, that I need to show it as a respectable craft. I'm kind of curious. I want Erica, are you able to move the camera so that people can see Blackberry drinking out of my mug? Walk really slowly. Let's see if you can get it. Blackberry the kitty is drinking out of my mug. Oh my God, you can't move the camera. Oh, you're such a noob. Holy shit.
What? Isn't it just go down?
Erica,
What?
please. Erica doesn't know how to operate tripod.
Doesn't it just go up and down?
Oh my God. Okay, on the other side, can you loosen that a little?
This one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh well.
Erica, that's the other way. That's not the direction of gravity.
Huh?
That's not down. That's up.
This is down?
The other up.
Oh, this way.
This is fucking painful.
I can't see because the thing's facing away from me.
Dating an Apple user, everybody. But that's
Wherever she went.
dating. Okay, she's gone already.
She was drinking from the water.
She was drinking from the water. I thought it was funny. She's trying her best as MLF commissioner. Yes, it's the other up.
Huh? Oh.
She put an Apple logo in my stream earlier, so I'm allowed to. You.
Oh, dang it. I missed her. Trying to be like National Geographic. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, what was I saying? If you want to make the case for reopening, you need to make the case as a protest that we are responsible. We do not need to be kept indoors. That's the best argument. We don't need to be kept indoors because we're children that don't know what to do. What we know what to do, what we can do is let me restart this. Holy crap. I sound like Joe Biden. Oh my God. I can't believe I sound like Joe Biden. Restart. Am I allowed to do that? Can you get my Reminal? But so if you want to make the case that we should reopen, if you want to protest reopening, if you want to protest a shutdown, what you need to do is make the case that we are a responsible people. We are not going to do stupid shit. We do not need to be kept inside of our fucking cages. So let us out. And this is the exact opposite of that. You're doing the exact opposite. What you're doing is you're purposely doing irresponsible shit because it is technically, under the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, your right. And it may be your right to be a dick, but that doesn't mean that that's the strongest argument. One of the strongest arguments against right to repair is, doesn't a company have a right to be a cunt? If Apple wants to be a cunt and not release a schematic, they can. If Apple wants to be a cunt and get an employee in trouble or send them to prison because they share a schematic of a circuit that they designed, they can. If Apple wants to be a cunt and create an exclusivity agreement that says that Intersil cannot sell this Hardship to anybody else, they can do that. The best argument against right to repair, above all, is the right to be a cunt. It's enshrined in the Constitution. Well, not exactly, but, read between the lines there. And what they're doing here is they're not making the argument that... I haven't gotten anything from it, Brandon. The argument they're making here is not the argument that we as an American people are responsible. Therefore, you can reopen the economy, and we're not going to spread the virus willy-nilly to everybody. They're making the opposite argument here. No mask needed. Bring your kids. If you're sick, still come out. It's your right. They're making the argument from the rights point of view. And again, if I was Apple and I'm trying to make an argument against right to repair, I'm not going to make the argument that, listen, you're right. I'm being a cunt. I have the right to be a cunt. I have the legal right to bend my customers over and fuck them in the ass. So allow me to do so. That's bad form. That's bad form. And that's not the argument they make. At the very least, they come out and they sugarcoat and they BS and they do everything they can to try and dress it up and make it pretty. And this, like this over here, shit like this, because this sign, it could be trolling. This could be reverse astroturfing here. This could be something ridiculous. But when you look at those rallies, it's not like everybody there is wearing their mask. It's not like they're standing apart from each other when you see them. Like, it could be complete and utter total troll. Even if this sign is complete BS, if you see pictures of those protests, it's not like you have people 6 feet apart. It's not like they're wearing masks or even something around their mouth. The sign you showed was fake. Is it trolling or stupidity? It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. If that is fake, then that is interesting. But even if this sign is complete and utter absolute horse crap, when someone goes out to protest the shutdown, and they do it when they're right next to each other, and they do it not wearing masks, they're not protesting based on the concept that a few YouTubers did a thing on. Okay, I get it, it's fake. Like, we're past that. If you go out and you don't have a mask on, and you're standing right next to a bunch of people, You're not making the argument that we can get through things responsibly. You're making the argument that I have the right to be a cunt. You may have the right to be a cunt. Is it the best argument to make to sway people? I think perhaps it's not. Even if the sign is fake, it's just as stupid as burning 5G towers. Like, again, even if this sign is absolute, complete, utter, 110% made-up horseshit, the actual protests that have occurred are not. And you can find good amounts of video on this where you see that there are people... Oh, holy fuck, people really want to stick to the sign thing. You could see that there are protests where people are right next to each other. And it's like, why? What do you gain from doing that? Aside from the idea that it's my right to do that, you're not able to... The sign isn't fake, it's posted in Staten Island. Oh, that's even worse. No. Either way, the sign is beyond the point. The sign could literally have a dick in the middle of it, and I don't care. It's the point that we're getting at. Next. I grew up in Staten Island. So if you told me that sign was found in Staten Island, I almost wouldn't think it was a me. All right. What do you think of reports that the infection numbers are very high already, effectively making this distancing from low-risk individuals mute? I have a feel. Well, here's the problem, and here's the what I've said, is that when it comes to discussions with, when it comes to, man, I really am talking like Joe Biden tonight. Holy fuck. I should probably get some sleep. when I hear on the news, this politician has a 75% approval rating, and I don't know anybody who voted for them or likes them, I'll wonder, how did they get that polling data? Where'd they get that from? Did they ask me? Surely they didn't ask anybody I knew, or that number would be much lower. When it comes to the infection rate, when it comes to the mortality rate, how many people have the virus? How many people get very ill or die? Now, in order to calculate that, you need to know how many people have it, how many people get injured, or how many people are badly affected by it, and then over here you have to have how many people have it and how many people die. How do you figure that out if you can't test people? Because we're getting into the end of April, and if I walk into a doctor's office and I say, I would like to get a test to see if I have coronavirus, and I have $2,000, still can't get it from a lot of places. So you don't really know how many people have it. So naturally, the number is going to be more, not less, because you have tens of millions of people that have not been tested. How do you research about computers? I read Linus Tech Tips Twitter feed. Any predictions in the second wave that everyone is talking about? I have no idea. I am not a doctor. Remember those essential food service workers that don't deserve a living wage? Yeah, so they don't deserve a living wage. BlackBerry equals void cat equals best cat. Huh. As a central New Yorker, my issue with Cuomo is that all he cares about is New York City, not any of us up near like Syracuse. That's the majority of the people who are going to vote for him. So I imagine that's where that's the area that's going to swing things. I hope everyone is safe. I hope those politicians start working for people and stop the blame game. Please keep Clinton and other kiddies safe from corona. Will do. It's only a little, but I hope it helps pay. My girlfriend and I love your content enthusiasm towards right to repair. Thank you very much, Mr. Scott. I'll try to put it to good use. Adam says the Constitution was written by human beings. Human beings are flawed. Therefore, the Constitution also has flaws. I do believe the Constitution came out prior to germ theory being a thing. That was really widely understood as well. So there's that. I like the Constitution. I don't think they had a chapter on how to deal with the germ theory or viruses. I've been a fan of you for a while, so story short, I came across a PC that was shot with a gun. Do you want it? I don't need that, but thank you. Speaking of Apple, here's some dinner for you, Erica, and kitties. I expect a small loan of 1 million JTAG connectors for this deed. I may invest them in the banks. 1 million JTAGs filling Chase would be interesting. I just lost my job and I was a essential worker. I'm sorry, Shahi. A friend of mine from the Bronx died on Monday from the virus. His boss said no masks, so he finished the day and quit. Too late. I'm kind of curious about this. What is the incentive structure? He seems all right. He emailed me once. I emailed in reply to his video on retiring, and, we both got busy. I sent you a message on Facebook, didn't know your email. I don't have a Facebook, so I have no way of reading that message. If you sent a message on Facebook, you likely sent it to someone who's not me. I don't have a Facebook. There's a company Facebook, which I think Hi manages, but he's probably not reading that shit. But yeah, I don't have a Facebook, so if you sent me a message on Facebook, it's either going to a fake me or it's going to Hi. Yeah, so what I'm really curious about is what are these jobs where people are saying don't wear a mask? You're not allowed to wear a mask. I don't understand that. Like, I give a mask to everybody that works here. If somebody brought their own, I'm not going to say don't wear it. It's kind of weird. What's the incentive structure for that? Is it that you don't want other people at work to be afraid? Is it the appearance? Is it that you work at a job where you have to look sexy, or like it's a strip club or something, and you're going to get less tips if you don't wear a mask? Help me understand why it is that any employer would not want their employees to wear a mask if they want to voluntarily. That sucks. I'm really sorry for that happened to your friend. The Constitution is an ever-evolving living doc. Indeed. I've been a fan of yours for a while, so story short, I read that one. Anyway, how do we get right to repair on a federal bill? Where do I sign? It's not going to happen federally. Right to repair is a movement that I believe will make much more progress culturally than it ever does legally, because legally, there's a lot of other issues. Send them to Cuomo. You ever think about making instructional videos for other businesses and sending them to Cuomo to show politicians as an example? He doesn't care. He's not making decisions based on me making fucking educational materials. He's making decisions based on what he thinks is going to get him the least political shit. Now, before I read the rest of the comments, I can't... How do I put this? Let's say that you're a politician. If you reopen the country, if you keep everything open and people die, people will say, people died because of you, and they'll have your head. If you keep the country open, if you keep the economy open and no one dies, they're going to say you were being, you were being a maverick. What if you got people killed with your irresponsible behavior and vote you out of office? They won't hang you. If you close everything up and nothing happens, let's say, I don't want this to be quote mine, let's just say in a magical fairy tale world that's not real, let's just say in this magical world that coronavirus is totally fake and that nothing happens, nobody gets sick, nobody dies or anything. Well, at least he did the right thing. He did the safe, responsible thing and he closed down. Good governor. And if a bunch of people die and he closed down, well, imagine how many more people would have died. See, he was right about needing to close down because look at all the deaths, look at all the horror we needed to close down. So the politically safe thing to do is to close. Whether the virus is bad, whether it is kind of bad but not terribly bad, or whether the virus is not really something to worry about at all. It's a better political decision to make to close down, which is why I think politicians tend to lean towards closing, especially in these areas. Because if they close down and the economy goes to shit, they're not going to get as much crap as they are if they don't close down and a bunch of people die. No politician in 2020 wants to be Twitter hashtagged to death, accused for killing people because they didn't shut down in time. And I think that there's less of a political cost to closing for too long than there is opening for too long. But this is also not me being a politician. I'm not a politician. Newegg tried to sell me 50 surgical masks for 35. Did they try to sell it to you, or did you go to their site and see it there? Because I get this a lot. Like someone will walk in and say, Rossman tried to sell me board repair for 200. And it's like, no, I didn't. You walked in and asked for a price, and I didn't even look up, and I gave it to you. And then you ran out screaming and huffing and puffing that it cost $200 to fix your machine. But that's not even what it's worth. Listen. It's not my fault that you brought me a 2002 device that's missing its iteration of PM Sleep S4L. I wasn't trying to sell you. It's a fucking price on the list, you know? And yeah, I get it. The masks are expensive. The masks are expensive and it's annoying. I don't like paying $30 for 50 fucking masks from the off-the-books mask man that's in the place with a gate down across the street either. Now, if they call you on the phone and say, we would like to sell you these masks. Hey, what do you say? You want to buy them? You want to buy them? Then they try to sell you a mask. If they have it on their website, they're not trying to sell any. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're listing something. Can I send you an e-bike? You could use one. It's essential. Funny story. So someone who watches my videos has been listening to the saga of my e-bike, and he has a business fixing bikes. And he was working on it, and he wanted to run a new wire for the derailleur just to make things a little bit more proper before he got to the actual problem, because that wire wasn't it was too much friction on the wire for changing gears. And I have a bunch of wires, and a lot of those little labels came off of them. I know what they all are. I never fucking labeled this thing because it's my side project. It's my bike. I don't treat my bike the way I treat customer devices. I can't leave myself a 1-star Yelp review. I'm never going to leave myself a 1-star Yelp review. So I allow myself to get treated like shit and get the shit end of the stick. So the wire color code may have been such that the 5-volt wire for the throttle is the exact same color as the 58-volt wire for the trigger. He may have got confused, and let's just say that bike's in the shop at the moment. I couldn't get mad at him. It was so funny because the guy was so clearly nervous because he's been watching the channel and he's a fan and he's like, I wanted to meet you for all this time and I meet you and I fucking send 58 volts to your controller. And I knew that face. I knew the look on his face because I've done that. I've fucking sent, 12 volts to the 3-volt rail and had to explain to a customer why they weren't going to have their device back in an hour or two, why it was going to take a day because I have to replace all this shit. It sucks. It's a shit conversation. And one of the things that I've said is that you can tell a person's character by how they act when they're 100% in the right to be an asshole. So I just said, listen, I understand. Shit happens. Thank you for telling me. Appreciate it. Here, just figure it out when you can. A part of me kind of wanted to be an asshole. It's like, you fucking prick. I was going to ride my girlfriend home on it. But it's like, how many times have I been there? I haven't been there a lot of times in the past 10 years. But I have fucking been there. I have been there. I remember getting drunk off of Rich Costi's Chardonnay in Avatar's Studio B when I was 18 years old and a complete fucking idiot and screwing up channels 24, 25, 26, and 27 on the SSL J9000. That's now Berkeley's problem because they bought Avatar. I remember doing stupid ass shit and having to answer for it and fucking things up. I'm not perfect. But yeah, I'm down to one bike now. I'm down to the experimental one, not the one with the nice suspension. He seems like a nice guy. I'm sure he'll do the right thing. Do I clean my PC with it? It's my fault. If you have a wire that's 58 volts and a wire that's 5 volts, fucking label them. Or if you don't label them, you dumbass piece of shit, at least make it a different color. Can you even do that, you dumb lazy fuck? The dumb lazy fuck is me because I put together that fucking bicycle. Cuomo basically said learn to code. Yes, he did. 3 teenagers coughed at me yesterday on purpose because they thought wearing a mask was funny. Should I contact local police? Again, no, because regardless of corona, even if somebody started coughing at you on purpose in 2015, I can't imagine a response that's not hitting or punching them. And if you do that and then you call the police, you're going to get in trouble for punching. She's trying her best as MLF commissioner regarding Erica trying to use the tripod. It's adorable. Watch it. If you want to see top-notch Erica utilizing a tripod, you have to look at the Boston video when I'm walking from my camera down to testify in Boston State House on October 22nd. And Erica's like, ah!
You were moving too fast.
She says I'm moving too fast.
You were moving so fast, it was like you were getting called down to Price is Right.
I had a cold and I was still faster than...
You were so fast, I was like, where did he go?
Okay, Grandma. Oh, Grandma. In my opinion, Cuomo meant stock shelves, drive for Amazon, etc. Not very tactful. Mitch McConnell said subsidizing hardest hit states as a blue problem is far more partisan and divisive. I mean, they're both cunts. Mitch McConnell has been a professional cunt for a long time. The thing about subsidizing blue states is interesting because that's an interesting thing to really unravel. So on one hand, there are blue states that have, ridiculously overblown pensions that are not sustainable, that anytime something goes wrong, something's going to pop there. And that have a lot of crap bloated into their budget, which admittedly other states shouldn't have to subsidize. But why is it that these blue states pay more money in federal taxes than they ever get back? Why are the blue states subsidizing the red states? It's very interesting because if you read a conservative outlet, they'll say, well, this blue state has a ridiculous budget. We've been saying it has a ridiculous budget for the last 5 to 10 years now, and no shit, of course something bad happened. And then the more liberal paper will say, well, these red states pay less in federal taxes than they get in federal taxes. They don't have companies that are the most innovative. A lot of the innovation that winds up coming from companies that are started and founded in the blue states, that are run by people in blue states, that are educated by blue state universities. And all the people who live in those cities wind up paying more in federal taxes than they ever get back in benefits. They're kind of both true. There's truth to both. It's just which one is the one that you choose to focus on. That's the real red pill. The real red pill is that it's not which fact is correct. It's which fact do you choose to focus on and make the center stage. Which fact is the more important fact? Because two things can be true at the same time. A city can have a fucked up budget And they can also pay a way more in federal taxes than they ever get back from the federal government. Which do you choose to focus on? The one that you choose to focus on is going to be the one that, helps your team. Which team are you on? Team red or team blue? It's interesting to me hearing that because it's just, that's been the anti-conservative talking point for a really long time. Like, these fucks just say, just find the job like it's so easy. So it's really interesting when someone on the opposite team says, not only just find a job in this, not only do you need to find a job, you need to find a job in this section of fucking fields that are allowed to be open. And like stocking shelves for Amazon seems perfectly fine, finding people to stock shelves. It doesn't really make sense one way or the other. Working around a soldering iron all day was the dumbest injury. I haven't gotten any. Thoughts on Cuomo's wife bathing in Clorox. That sounds like a meme. That doesn't sound like it's true. I could Google it, but I don't want to Google it. Because that's a lose-lose. If I Google it and I find out you're bullshitting me, it means that my chat is bullshitting me when I'm trying to have a serious discussion. If I Google it and I find out that it's true, I can't live in the city anymore. So like one way or the other, I can't Google that. It'll just depress me. Got to work tomorrow. Stop by to say good work. Thanks for the help. Keep sourcing stuff to keep the repair industry going forward. Thank you. Hi brought up that I missed some Streamlabs ones. I read all the Streamlabs ones, but I must have gotten a new one since then, so I will hit the refresh button. What would you charge to diagnose my failed Dell quad-core i7? Local guy says I fried the CPU, but I don't know if he's as skilled. It beeped loudly, and then nothing over a small amount of water spilled in the touch pad. Do I want to torture Chris? You know what? I just gave Chris a raise and a bonus. So I think that Chris is more than happy to Zaumal your Dell CPU. Is it socketed or not socketed? It's probably dead. It's probably a dead CPU. Estimates are free. It's just, do you really want to spend the money on the shipping to find out the same thing? If it beeped after water and someone else said it's a dead CPU and they have decent reviews, Aaron's, you're welcome to send it in. You know what? Let's let Chris earn his money. New York City testing shows 21% antibodies for corona. 1.6 million people, if you do the math, bigger denominator equals lower death rate. That's what I'm wondering. Thanks for the reasonable measured argument to this. Do you ever think about making a Oh, yeah, I read that one. Finish reading this one, and there's, I think, one more that I got to read through, and then I can get to the next interesting article. Is Trump going to reopen the country, causing chaos? I don't think that's really up to Trump. I don't know. If Trump says the country reopens, but Cuomo says, fuck that, you're not allowed to open, I think the businesses in New York are going to listen to Cuomo, not Trump, because Cuomo is going to have authority over New York. And also, most of the people in New York City hate Trump anyway, so they're probably going to listen to Cuomo over Trump. If thousands were dying in Wyoming, if most of the deaths were in flyover country, would New Yorkers shut down? I think that's a That's a bad example, because Wyoming is one of those states where you could drive for 10 minutes before you see another human being. Not like driving, riding my bike. I mean like driving 50 miles an hour for 10 minutes before you see another human being. It's easy to do that in Wyoming. I don't like to deal with hypotheticals where it's unlikely that it would happen, and the unlikeliness that it happens is the very thing that makes it a hypothetical, since we can't actually focus on it as a fact. Like, the reason that we're focusing on that as a hypothetical is because it hasn't happened. The reason it hasn't happened is because in Wyoming, it's this, like, well, what is the population of Wyoming? Like 800,000 to 1.8 million people. New York is this big and has 8 million people. Wyoming is this big and has about 800,000 people. So, like, social distancing is built into the state. I get where you're coming from, but it's really difficult to answer hypotheticals like that when they're hypotheticals that just fundamentally don't happen. Hi from Canada. Is the U.S. trying to rush things? Depends on who you ask, really. My sister works as a nurse in Arkansas and got told she couldn't wear her N95 mask until surgical masks ran out. Well, if they're providing you with something that's equal equal in quality or better than what you're bringing, then I understand it. So if your work is saying, listen, don't wear your little piece of shit, dinky ass Newegg mask or your crappy piece of mask that came with your CD3215s that you bought from CIC. Wear this hospital grade one. I get that. If your workplace says, hey, yeah, I see you got some little shitty mask on you, don't wear that. We're not going to provide you with anything. Just don't wear anything. That's where I think it's kind of bullshit. Saw your Norway testimony. Does your testimony there as an American set any kind of precedence? Does it help or hinder? Man, those people had no fucking idea what I was saying. A bunch of other people said talk slower. Man, it was... You know what the time thing is there? They had to have that hearing at 9 a.m. in Norway. That means I have to fucking be up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, 3 o'clock in the morning is not exactly the time where I want to be awake anyway, but whatever. But, like, they weren't paying attention to a fucking word I said. Like, come on. You could just listen to the questions they asked and what they said. They had no interest in what I actually had to say. It made no difference in the case. Nah. I was looking for tech, and it popped up to me to buy since they secured for their employees and wanted to sell some to their valued customers, says Newegg. They secured them for their employees. Huh. Valued customer. Linus is good at getting you to break an iMac. Ha. And Blood Velist for 2. Huh. Okay, now there's actually another Streamlabs. Let's see. Where is that? Oh, shit. Oh, crap. Wrong button. Son of a bitch. I'm being a noob. I saw this one meme recently that absolutely had me in stitches. It was the Chad Boomer versus the Virgin Millennial. It was... I don't usually like get excited or worked up and laughing over stuff like that, but that just... It hit me somewhere. I couldn't help myself. I broke down laughing at it. Okay, that is covered. The next thing I wanted to go over no, I clicked the wrong button again. I'm a boomer that uses Bonzi Buddy on his AOL CD browser. That thing was so funny. Is worried and concerned about it. Like, it was so funny. It was something like the Virgin Millennial is concerned about his privacy. Like, uses a VPN. Is concerned about online privacy. The Chad Boomer uses the browser that comes on his 1997 AOL CD and has Bonzi Buddy and toolbars installed. It was so funny. As a Staten Islander, do you want to apologize? No. I grew up in Staten Island, and I remember when I was in high school, there was a form, and on the form, when you graduated, you had to write what you wanted to do. I remember writing on mine, retire, but over half of the kids in my class wrote on it, move out of Staten Island. Like, everybody that was in my class, everybody that was in my graduating class, all wanted to leave Staten Island. Nobody wanted to stay in Staten Island. So it's not like I have really changed at all in my opinion that there's lots places that I'd rather go and live other than Staten Island, similar to most of my graduating class that wanted to leave Staten Island and go somewhere else. Nope, I lived there for over 17 years. Nope. I earned my right to say I don't want to live in Staten Island. Okay. This is an interesting one. She got a forgivable loan. Her employees hate her for it. Did you get my email considering your network rack? Would send you a plan to organize it. If you send me a plan, that's going to go on the bottom of a ridiculously long list. Just the time to do it. I haven't done board repair videos recently. I've had no time. Shipping person is out. Lewis is the shipping person. Front desk clerk is out. Lewis is the front desk person. Lewis is also the business owner. Lewis has to fix boards, wrangle money from Chase, ship everything, and deal with every walk-in customer. And work on the weekends. Like, I would love to organize the rack. I really would. But like, short of someone showing up and spending a day doing it for me, it's not. I know it's not going to happen. My email is an absolute disgrace because I usually have 900 to 1100 unread emails, and because what I do is I look at it. Is this something that is of utmost importance to my business? If yes, it's answered. If no, I read it when I have time later in the day. Now I've just been tossing those all into a folder. So let's see. My email inbox says fucking shit, 3,800 unread emails. Yeah. So most likely no. I've had to really scale back my email answering to like only essential email, as Cuomo would say. Only essential email. But all right, let's get on to this thing. So, does YouTube stardom change the essence of you? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't see myself as a star. I don't even really believe the numbers, honestly. Like, if I do a board repair video and it gets 20,000 views, and I have 1.1 million subscribers, do I have 1.1 million subscribers? Or do I have 20,000 subscribers, and then there's just this funny number on YouTube that seemingly has nothing to do with the rest of it? Like, let's just take the stream. There's 1,310 people watching. I have 1 million subscribers. Do I actually have 1.2 million subscribers? Or at this, like, I count it as 1,300. Which is still a fucking crazy amount of people. You know, that's more people than anybody can imagine knowing in a lifetime. Do you accept to fix broken graphics cards? No. We don't. Because I cannot get schematics for them. I cannot get board views for them. If you can get ASUS or MSI or Gigabyte or any of these fucking companies to release a schematic and a board view, then maybe it's worth it. Since I can't do that, it doesn't wind up being worth it to figure it out. Doing open-ended troubleshooting on something when you do not have a schematic or a board view or any sort of diagram is a complete and utter clusterfuck. And it only makes sense if you're going to see that exact same device again 10,000 times. So unfortunately, no. I'm sorry. Tell the manufacturer of your graphics card to stop being a cunt and release the schematic. Get Linus to do it. Tell Linus that he should tell the graphics card manufacturer to stop being a cunt and release that schematic. Or you can do an RMA. I got MSI to send me a schematic for my laptop. Okay, that's impressive. Okay. You don't really need the board view. IC data sheets help a lot. Too much. Too much. Again, like yes, you can reverse engineer it. How much time can you put into reverse engineering a device you're only going to see one of? If the new MacBook comes out, because I know that I am going to get 30 to 70 of the same fucking device every single day, I can invest, I can invest $15,000 or $30,000 into research and development. I can have my staff actually work and reverse figure out how the entire system is set up. I can't put that amount of investment into a graphics card that I'm going to see once every 6 months that someone's going to want me to fix for $200. It's, you can fix things without a schematic or a board view. You can use your brain and beat at it. But the thing is, with a no-fix, no-fee model, that only works if you're going to see that device over and over and over again, or if you're able to get access to documentation. If you can't, then it's just a total clusterfuck. If a person pays for it, what is the matter? Well, that's the whole point. In a no-fix, no-fee model, they only pay if you make it work. If you need to put 50 hours in to figure out how it's put together so that you can then do the repairs, that don't work. It's not that repair is impossible. It's that economical repair on a mass scale for the items becomes difficult if you're not able to get access to the documentation. if you're not able to get access to that stuff, yeah, like I'm not saying you cannot fix it. It can be fixed. It's just, is it worth the risk-reward ratio for the amount of money that can be charged for it? Because there are people that can fix all sorts of stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I say no to that I could fix. I cannot fix it for $200. For $10,000, sure. For $20,000, sure. But it's a $700 device. So, like, you see where we're getting there. I know. You provide online lesson. YouTube.com /Rossman Group. YouTube.com /Rossman Group. Okay, let's take a look at this. This was an interesting article that I keep getting linked to. She got a forgivable loan. Now her employees hate her for it. Jamie Black Lewis received loans from the Paycheck Protection Program for her 2 spas, Oasis Med Spa and Salon in Washington State. Many of her 35 employees think they'll make more money collecting unemployment benefits from their regular paychecks. She saw the $177,000 and $43,800 loan for each of the spas she owns as a lifeline she could use for payroll and other business expenses. She halted pay for the 35 employees, including herself, at the spa when non-essential businesses in Washington closed. When Black Lewis convened a virtual employee meeting to explain her good fortune, she expected jubilation and relief that paychecks would resume in full, even though the staff, primarily hourly employees, couldn't work. She got a different reaction. It was a firestorm of hatred about the situation, they said. The animosity is an unintended consequence of the relief package enacted last month. CNBC often tends to be a little bit biased towards the employer, so keep that in mind when reading it. The law, the CARES Act, offered this in billions in loans for small businesses. Among them, the bulk of funds must go towards payroll. Salaries must remain intact, and employee headcount must not decrease. Businesses have until June 30th to rehire laid off or furloughed workers. She was trying to meet these rules after her bank reiterated she must continue to pay workers for loan forgiveness. The anger came from employees who determined they'd make more money by collecting unemployment benefits than their normal paychecks. It's a windfall they saw coming, she said of unemployment. In their mind, I took it away. I couldn't believe it, she added. On what planet am I completing with unemployment? She's surely not the only entrepreneur to struggle with such dynamics. More than 26 million Americans filed for unemployment in these weeks, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about how the law adds $600 flat to the unemployment benefits you would usually get paid out by the state, which is somewhat interesting. So the way that this act works is you will get an additional $600 per week in unemployment if you stay unemployed, which is in some ways an incentive to not return to work. But you got to do a little bit of math here to figure out what that is. So $600 divided by 40, that means that you're making about $15 an hour. In order for so it depends on what you're getting from your local state, because, this is on top of your state's unemployment as well. And one of the things that I noticed here, and this is probably not what most people notice, because you have one group of people that, the Bernie Sanderses of the world, which are, wow, somebody who used to make $12 an hour is going to make the equivalent of $15 an hour for a short period of time. The world's going to end. Isn't that so bad? He says that sarcastically. And, I understand his point. Like, wow, poor people are finally not going to get fucked for once in their lives. How terrible is that? I get his point. And I also understand not going crazy adding stipulations to this, because you just want to get the money out immediately. The more stipulations you add to the act, the longer it takes for the act to go into practice. The longer it takes to go into practice, the more people lose their house, lose their money for food, lose everything, and the quicker societal breakdown occurs. I understand wanting to push this out the door quickly, even if it is. I understand wanting to push the money out the door quickly, even if it means some people may get a little bit more money than they would have staying at work. Then you have the more conservative side, where they'll say, if you pay people more money to stay at home and then go to work, you are creating a perverse incentive, and that's going to lead to things like this. And if you continue reading, they do eventually go further with the math, and they said in Mississippi, a less generous state when it comes to unemployment, full-time workers making less than $21 an hour would make more money on unemployment than from their job. So this is on when you combine the state's unemployment with your own unemployment. So you combine the state's unemployment with the federal unemployment. Holy fuck, that's the third Bidenism tonight. Ah, get me my Reminol. So there's you're taking the $21 an hour, $21 an hour means that that's $15 an hour that would be coming from the federal level, I imagine, because $600 a week, 40 hours a week, that comes out to 640 hours a week, $15 an hour, $600. That is, then you're combining that with the $6 an hour of unemployment that you would get from Mississippi's unemployment benefits. When you combine the two together, you actually get more money for not working than for working. And in states that have higher unemployment, like in Washington, if you're making less than $30 an hour, you're going to be making more money sitting at home than you are going to work. I think a big part of this that's not being discussed in the article, well, there's two things that are not being discussed. The first is, what is the actual pay? So you have to keep this in mind here. So what I was eligible for to apply for was, I believe, $141,000. I have 12 employees. She was eligible for, let me just get my math out here. So I was eligible for $141,000 with 12 employees. She was eligible for $220,800 with 35 employees. I have 34% the staff that she does, but I get 63% as much money. The way that means that you're paying your staff way less than I am, like way less than I am. I have 34% the amount of staff that you do, but I'm eligible for 63% as much funds, which means that my payroll per employee is much higher than yours. Now, what am I getting at with this? What I'm getting at is that if your employees are really thinking to themselves this short term, what are you doing as a business owner? I am completely aside from the fact that the bill is set up with, in it by design, a perverse incentive where people will be offered more money to stay home than they will to go to work. Even when you consider that, see, this is the thing. How do I put this? I've not been for increasing the minimum wage because the way that I got my start in the industry was by working a free internship that was not for college credit, which makes it an illegal internship by New York standards, and then by getting a job working $7.50 an hour at that place after 3 months, cleaning toilets and doing bitch work that nobody else wanted to do. After doing that for a short period of time, I was able to work with some of the industry's best technicians, the Ricky Begans, the Phil Lipscombs, and the Gretchens of the world, and I learned a lot that I was able to apply to my own business that made me very successful in life. If they were not allowed to give me that internship, or they were forced to pay a high wage, then they would have just hired somebody that knew what the fuck they were doing, not some 17-year-old jackass, unskilled teenager. But at the same time, the reason that I don't pay minimum wage where I work is because minimum wage gets you minimum effort. If you pay minimum wage and your staff are short-sighted, if you pay minimum wage and your staff they don't care about the health of the business, they don't care about the longevity of the business, they don't care about you, well, what do you expect? What do you expect? You got what you paid for. I'm not against minimum wage being a low number, but at the same time, if you pay that minimum wage, then you can't complain when your staff has no loyalty to the job. And one of the things that my personal trainer used to say all the time, he is way more on the left than I am, and he brings up some good counterpoints, is that, I forget the comedian that used to say it, but he would bring it up all the time. He would say that if you pay someone minimum wage, what you're doing is you're telling them, if I were legally able to pay you less than this, I would. If you paid somebody even 50 cents over minimum wage, you're telling them that they have some sort of value. But when you pay them the minimum legal requirement, what you're saying is that if I had the ability to pay you less than that number that the government forces me to pay you, I would, you fucking worthless piece of shit. George Carlin. Awesome. I can't believe I forgot his name. That's disgusting. I like George Carlin. But that's kind of what's at play here. At times like this, what you're going to find the businesses that treated their employees well, and the businesses that treated their employees and the businesses that treated their employees like shit. Because one of the things that I said in a previous video is that nobody is getting out of this easily. There's no like one of the things I remember saying when I saw that order come down about not coming to non-essential businesses is I said, okay, we're classified as essential, so we're open. However, I understand that there are a lot of you here that are either living with the elderly, concerned about potentially getting sick. I'm not going to make you come to work. Not. However, if I need to pay every single one of you with no help from the government, with no income, this business is gone. What do you think? What do you want to do? What sounds fair to you? What changes should we make? How can we compromise? And everybody actually worked together to come up with a compromise. Now, part of the reason I think everybody worked to come up with a compromise is because every employee that I have here right now, to my knowledge, let me just double check, make sure this is true. Everybody that I have here right now, to my knowledge, was making considerably less money than they were before they moved here. So they were making this much. They move here, they're making this much. They used to have to do this much work without a break. Now they do this much work and they have a longer break. I don't time them when they go out to lunch. I don't sit there doing this. I don't say, okay, you have to stop eating now because you took too much time. I don't I try to treat them like human beings. And one of the crazy things that happens when you treat your staff like human beings is that every now and then they might just work with you when something terrible happens. I'm not a great employer. I'm really not. People will say they'd love to work for me. I expect a lot. I expect people to learn things very quickly. I expect them to know things that I think are common sense that are clearly not common sense to most people. I expect them to pick up on things very quickly. I expect them to be listening all the time. I expect them to be able to figure out how to work faster and faster and faster. Not Amazon 400 fucking boxes an hour fast, but I expect people to pick up the pace. But I try to treat them like human beings. And one of the things that happens when you treat people like human beings is they actually treat you like a human being back. These people who are thinking to themselves, fuck you, man, you're going to make me go back to work when I'm able to get $100 more from the government a week than working for you? Fuck you. Man, how did you treat your staff? How did you treat your staff to get them to the point where they don't give a flying fuck about your company? Because a lot of the people that work at this business right now, they treat this like crap. We need to prop this business up. We need to make sure this business works, because if this business doesn't work, it's off to making 30% less and getting treated like shit and having to wear a name tag every day and not being allowed to wear my headphones at work, or having to hide my headphones when the boss comes by, and having to take shit from customers nonstop even when I don't deserve it. They don't want to leave. Now, I completely understand that there is a perverse incentive here. I understand that the government is going to pay the employees more money to stay at home than to go to work. I'm not saying that doesn't put people in a tough position. But when businesses are put in that tough position, what I find really interesting is what companies are the ones where they can actually level with their staff, and how do they manage something like that? Because I didn't go running to everybody and say, okay, everybody, nobody's getting paid. And then a month later, okay, you can all come back. And then no, I just said, listen, we're allowed to be open, but I understand if some of you are not able to. What can we do so that there's a business to come back to? And I also let them come up with a plan. This is a big part of what helps. If you actually go up to people and instead of saying, we're doing this exactly like this, give them input. Allow them input. Even if your staff don't have a final say, even if you get to override it with a veto, even if you get to play fucking dictator like Cuomo when they vote 137-4 in favor of making e-bikes legal and he says, fuck you, veto, but I'm not salty. Even if that happens, at least let them believe that they were hurt. Because I'm not a fan of a fully 100% democratic workplace. There are many times where I've been the only one in the room to think something, and it was with a very long-term outlook, and other people were not, and it wound up being the right thing to do. I like being able to veto, but at the very least ask, take an input. And if you've run your business in a manner where people are purely 110% only worried about themselves, what did you fuck up? What did you fuck up? Is it that you pay them so little money that they're able to make this much windfall by staying home? Is it that they have zero investment in the long-term outlook and prospect for your business because they figure, fuck it, I hate that job anyway, if if I have to get another job after this, it's going to be the same as the job that I left? Why did he ban e-bikes? Because he's a fucking dictator, that's why. What is the plan your team decided on? Some people are working from home. For the people who are not able to work from home, I'm taking on some of their job. When I'm not able to do that, we're splitting it evenly amongst ourselves. And some of the people that stayed and actually showed up, they may wind up getting a bonus. And the people that didn't show up, they got paid. But, you can get paid to stay home. I'm not gonna cut off your pay and say you don't get anything. And then when PPP comes through, I'll get something. I'll cover you. I'll cover this in the meantime. I will pay you. I'm not gonna cut you off and then only give you money if PPP comes through. But if you happen to stay and you still stayed late and you came early and you helped me out with the extra jobs, there may be a bonus in it for you. It's pretty much. And also, and honestly, one of the things that I found interesting is that there has really been, I was expecting there to be some of the, well, why is it that person doesn't have to show up and I do? Why is it that they get to stay home and I don't? I never came to that. Because it really could come to that. And if I was working at a job that I fucking hated, I'd probably bring that up. Why the fuck do they get to stay home and I have to come to work? Why am I the one that I'm the one who's willing to take a risk? I'm the one who's willing to work through this, and I'm the one that is getting punished by having to work. That never came up. Not once. Not once. Nobody said it. Never a murmur of it. Never a complaint of it. Because everybody here understands that we work as a fucking team. And sometimes some people take the L now. Sometimes they get a win. Maybe next month the person that got a win now takes the L. It's a team. We try to work as a team. We try to figure out solutions to shit as a team. And when shit doesn't work out or hits the fan or something really doesn't work as a team, people think to themselves, well, okay, what was I afforded here versus the other jobs that are on the table? How have I been treated here versus the other jobs on the table? Sometimes maybe I was a piece of shit. Maybe I was. Maybe this is all going to evaporate come tomorrow because I've been a much bigger piece of shit than I think. But what I like to think, what I hope is that when I try to treat people as human beings, when I try to treat them like they're actually a part of a family and not a cog in a machine, that when it comes time for a shitty situation, that all that crap is going to be on the back burner. All of that, why am I showing up when this person is not, or why am I doing this if that person, like all this finger pointing shit and why'd you take away my opportunity to get unemployment and all this crap, that they don't think about it, that they're just grateful for the fact that they have a place, that they weren't treated like shit. And that, I don't know. I'm not really a good dude. I don't know. I try to not be a piece of shit. What's really interesting is that I try to not be a piece of shit, and just not being a piece of shit gets people to say that I'm a good dude. I wouldn't say I'm a good dude. I would say that I'm not a complete piece of shit. But what I really does make me wonder, what was it like working for this person? And it's not even like she said it's just one or two of my employees. She's talking like it's a majority of her employees that are pissed off at this. What the fuck did you do to these people? That's skilled work, Lewis. That's different. I actually, a long, long time ago, dated a massage therapist. And one of the things that I can tell you is that massage therapy is skilled work. There's a license to get for it. There's testing that you have to go through for it. If you think that anybody can give you a massage and it's going to be the same as if a proper massage therapist gives it to you, you've never gotten a proper massage, nor have you ever actually hurt someone by not giving them a proper massage. There's skill to it. The 600 extra is only for a few months though, right? Yes. And then you have to go back to work. But that's the thing. If you're getting paid minimum fucking wage, then you're probably thinking, well, if I can get more money right now by staying unemployed, I'll just do that. And if that business is out of business, then fuck them. If I was working at Modell's Sporting Goods getting paid 6.1750 cents to put price tags on basketballs, and I got offered $600 a week, I'm not going to care about my Modell's job. Fuck my Modell's job. If my Modell's job treated me like shit, they ran everybody into the ground. They didn't give a fuck about the human beings that work there at all. So my thinking would be, I'll just ride out the unemployment, and once the unemployment is done, I'll get a minimum wage job somewhere else, because minimum wage jobs where you get treated like shit are a dime a dozen. Agreed, the bar is too low for being a good dude. It really is. I'm not a good dude. I keep saying this because people... Here's the reason I do this. A, I don't really think I'm a good dude. But B, a lot of people will look at what I say about right to repair. They'll see that I try to teach repair. They'll see that I testify on behalf of it, and they'll say, I agree with that. But then if they think I'm a good person and they realize I'm not, then they may think to themselves, wait, what about everything else he said? That's not true either. No, I still think that somebody who's not a good dude is able to make good arguments from time to time. I'm not that great a person. I think sometimes I hit the nail on the head. Sometimes I don't. But I do believe that if you think that people are, if you idolize people, and then you realize that they're, not that great, then it kind of, what I find happens is people will say, wow, I thought I knew you. I don't. Everything you said, I question now. It's strange. Okay. You scammed my is Turbo. I scammed him. I don't think I scammed anybody. If they pressed the button, they did it of their own volition. I'm simply not reading them as they show up on the screen anymore because it makes me impossible to remember my thought process. So I read the article, I talk about article, and then I read. Now I can read. I'm unemployed right now from Illinois. I got one payment 2 weeks ago. Now when I try to certify, I can't. So I'm fracked. What do? Do I try and start a business? You know what's interesting is I started this business in 2008. And the interesting thing is that starting a business is seriously easier than getting a job. Because starting a business, all you got to do is find someone that needs something and learn how to provide it. And then you're good. There's actually, all you need to do is find something you can do. If you aren't great, you wouldn't be liked. Oh no, there's a bunch of people that are pieces of shit that everybody loves. I'm not going to get names here because then I'm just going to piss people off. But starting a business, many people think, I got to buy office space, I got to buy all this stuff, I got to hire people. No, you don't. You put up a Craigslist ad for what it is that you know how to do. Put up a pull tab sign. Go door to... Okay, don't go door to door right now. Save that for a while. You need to be able to offer something that someone needs. And the thing about starting a business is, honestly, let's say you have a criminal record, right? Getting a job, most jobs, that's going to be just, that's not going to be an option for you because you got that little checkbox. You have to lie on it, which means you get screwed when you get background checked, or you tell the truth, in which case your application gets thrown away. But if you put up a Craigslist ad and you say, hey, here are five-star reviews of me on this website. I'm able to offer this service. Here are the testimonials. Here's my price list. I can show up in 20 minutes after you call me. That's actually easier than a job interview. So the thing about the thing that's interesting about starting a business is, in my experience, it's been much easier than getting a job. I'm not really a business owner. I'm just one of those people that couldn't get a job, so I started a business, and now I have a business. Michael Gerber would say that I'm not a business person, but I'm just someone who turns their job into a business. I'm happy that I've created a business where if I don't show up for 2 months, everything still runs perfectly and smoothly, and there's guides for everything and all that, but I'm not really a business person so much as I am just someone who couldn't get a job. If you weren't, let's see, Brian Gleason gave 5. Thank you. As a contractor, when I really don't want to take a job, I hike up the price, and extremely high and tell the client it's not worth it. But one time, a client called me on my BS and said yes. It sucks when that happens. MSI also put me in the contact with their parts manager to get parts directly from. Can you email me a copy of that? I would love to see that email chain. If you are a ninja, will you be on Cobra next season? I don't know what that is. Okay. My camera battery is about to die, and I'm getting sleepy. Please accept this tiny gift from Canada. Thank you. Do you look at RTX voice? It removes all background noise, including your air. Too much work. Where do you put the infection rate in Brooklyn? In my community, it's around 50% over tested. I have no idea. I know the number is going to be really... Here's what my prediction is going to be, that there's a bunch of people that already had this virus and their body defeated it, and they have the antibody as a result of their immune system having defeated the virus, but they were never tested. Because even if you are... Right now, even if you're fucking sick, you can't get a test, much less if you are well. And I think what's going to be interesting is circling back on this once we see what the actual death rate is. Hindsight is always 20/20, but I'm curious to see how many people actually got infected, like once tests are genuinely really available. I started a business modding Xbox 360s. All I did was post a Facebook Marketplace ad, and I've gotten plenty of business. Exactly. Like, getting a job is hard. It really is. I have no idea you're supposed to get a job. I've never been able to properly get a job. It's very difficult. And most of the jobs I've been able to get have sucked. But one of the things that is cool about starting a business is you bypass the middleman. Because what when you work for a company, the company is essentially the middleman between you and the customer. The company is the middleman between you and having the resources you need. Now, if you want to produce cars, you kind of need the middleman, because you're not going to create a car factory and a supply chain and all that shit overnight. That's just not happening. But for lots of basic shit like what we do, you don't really need the middleman in most cases. It may not be worth it to have the middleman, unless the middleman offers something that is very compelling. And I realize that about all my employees. Most of the people that work with me are smart enough that they can just leave and start their own company. So I have to think to myself, what would make it worth it to them to not have to start their own business? And kind of go from there. Okay. My camera is tired, and so am I, which means it is time to get out of here. I refuse to buy that $90 piece of shit Sony adapter. Sony makes an adapter for this camera, and it's almost as much as they paid for the fucking camera. I got this thing for about $250, $240 on eBay because I bought it with the flash broken. So I have this camera. This camera is awesome. I love this camera. But you can get this thing so cheap if you buy it on eBay. This is, let's see, what does this go for? Yeah, $572, blow me. You can find this camera used on eBay for $250 if you buy one that has a malfunctioning flash. And since I don't use it as a camera, I just use the HDMI out of it. I got it that cheap. But check this out. So for this camera, if you want the DC adapter, battery adapter, oh man, Sony is worse than Apple here. These people are absolute fucking lunatics. Look at this. Ready? Ready? AC adapter for this camera. Ready? Where to buy? Eh? $99 fucking dollars. Just not gonna happen. It's the principle of the matter. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to spend $100 on a DC adapter for a camera that uses 0.2 amps or 0.4 amps. It's just disgusting. I have a knockoff one that I bought for about $15, but the knockoff one doesn't fit properly, so you have to like have a little piece of newspaper in there or something, or combine a rubber band or some shit to make it fit. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. So, oh well. You know what I should do is I should cut the wire open and just solder the shit straight to the camera. That would make sense. Anyway, see y'all in the next video. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. Thank you for listening to me rant for 1 hour and 43 minutes.